Energy Department says that after seeing new intelligence concerning the origins of COVID, it now concludes the global pandemic most likely was caused by a lab leak in China. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. Joining us now, former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe. Great to have you here, sir. Before we get your reaction, I would just like to play for everybody. This is Biden's national security advisor on this topic yesterday.
President Biden specifically requested that the national labs, which are part of the Department of Energy, be brought into this assessment because he wants to put every tool at use to be able to figure out what happened here. And if we gain any further insider information, we will share it with Congress and we will share it with the American people.
What's your reaction to this as it came out yesterday morning?
Well, I'm not surprised. In fact, I predicted that there would be a shift among all of the intelligence agencies because, you know, Dana, frankly, the idea that the COVID-19 virus was of natural origins has always been at odds with our intelligence. I mean, from my first day as the director and looking at that, that was very clear. And I think what you've seen is, back in April of 2020, the intelligence communities unanimously agreed with the scientific community that this was of natural origins. It has now shifted, and you see more and more agencies coming to the conclusion with some degree of confidence in their assessment that that this was the result of a lab leak. And I think over time, Dana, what you're going to find is that the entire intelligence community will reach that assessment because our intelligence very clearly supports that assessment.
But if the Department of Energy is saying this, would they not know?
Well, what I didn't understand about Jake Sullivan's comments is the Department of Energy has been involved, like their intelligence components have been involved with this from the beginning. And, not to get too technical on this, Bill, but from the beginning, it has been clear that scientists have not been able to explain why there's something called a furin cleavage site within the genetic makeup of the COVID-19 virus. And that's why you had these scientists privately in emails conceding, I don't know how this occurs in nature. That is something that happens when scientists insert a snippet of genetic material into manipulated viruses. And so from the beginning, there has never been an environmental source for COVID-19. There has never been an intermediary host identified. And why that's important for your viewers is with the original SARS virus and with the MERS virus, those intermediary hosts were found within a matter of months. We're now 3.5 years from the origins of COVID-19 and no intermediary host, nothing tying this to the natural world has been found, which is why you see all of these scientists and now intelligence agencies backing away from prior assessments, backing away from the idea that there was possibility of natural origin and moving to the assessment that this was the result of a lab leak.
Can I ask you about the timing of this coming out yesterday morning? And I usually think things are very much more of a coincidence than any sort of strategy, but I do want to ask, last week we knew that the administration was telling us that China was about to sell weapons to Russia in order to use against Ukraine. And then this comes out on Sunday morning, but it feels to me like they would have had this information for a long time. So are you suspicious of the timing of the information getting out?
Yes.
I had the same initial thoughts that you did, Dana. I don't think that this is a coincidence. I do hope that this is part of a strategy to hold China in check. That would be a good sign that the Biden administration is thinking about these things. But, to the larger picture, I also wish that this acknowledgement and assessment across the board that China, notwithstanding the fact I understand that the geopolitical ramifications of concluding that China is responsible for the deaths of now tens of millions of people, more than 1 million Americans from a lab accident that happened in Wuhan are significant. But I do think in the scope of things, the American people deserve to have a truthful assessment, and our intelligence on this is clear. I said it years ago that this shift would take place, and it will continue where eventually we'll get to the point where everyone is conceding that this was a result of a lab leak.
Well, I mean, Sullivan said the national labs are part of the Department of Energy. DOE, Department of Energy, is what said. This came from Wuhan. Speaking of Wuhan, New York Post headline of the day: it had to be Wu.
Sing it. Sing it.
Not now.
Come on.
John Ratcliffe, thank you so